Hey, in this video I'm going to show you how to find the notes on a guitar. I'm going to do it in 3 easy steps. First of all, I'm going to show you the open strings, which you might already know. Second, I'll show you the chromatic scale, which is a little bit of music theory, but it's not hard, so don't worry about that. And then third, I'll show you how to play the chromatic scale on the guitar so that you can find any note anywhere on the fretboard. Okay? So let's just start with the open strings. Starting with the thickest string and going to the thinnest string, so we're starting with the 6th string. The notes are E, A, D, G, B, and E. So you'll notice that the 2 outer strings are the same. The thickest string, E, and the thinner string are both E. It's just that this one is 2 octaves higher than the low string. So you really only have to memorize 5 separate strings. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Just memorize those notes. Some people like to use a mnemonic like Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie, or something like that. You can make up one for yourself if you want. Anyway, that's the open strings. So let's look now at the chromatic scale. To look at the chromatic scale, I'm just going to pull up a page from my ebook here because I already have diagrams that'll be helpful here. So if we look at this piano keyboard, for example, this is kind of a good visual representation because every note on a piano is basically one of the notes of the chromatic scale. So here we're just looking at 1 octave starting on C, and so we can see that there are 12 notes in the chromatic scale. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and B. That's 12 notes, and then if we add the octave C, we get that one there again. Also notice that certain notes like C sharp can also be called by D flat. Those are 2 different names for the same note. Same thing with E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. So that's it. Those are the 12 notes of the chromatic scale. And here we can see it just without taking it away from the piano keyboard. This is just the scale itself, and it's going to be the same scale regardless of what instrument you play. So that's the chromatic scale. Just one thing to note, you see that there's no black keys between E and F, right? It's just 2 white keys next to each other, and the same thing between B and C. There's no black keys there. So there's no E sharp or F flat, and there's no B sharp or C flat. It just goes directly from E to F and directly from B to C. That's just the way it is. It'd take too long to explain why that is. But you just have to remember when you're counting up, when you get to E, you just go directly to F, and so on. Okay, so that's the scale. So now let's look at it on the guitar. If we go down here, we can see that this is every note on the guitar fretboard. And so if I just pick a C, like we were looking at the chromatic scale starting on C up there, and I count up C sharp, D, D sharp, you can see each time I go up 1 fret on the guitar, I'm basically going up the chromatic scale. Notice when I go from E, the next note up is F, and then from F to F sharp, and so on. So it's the same exact scale we saw here. The key thing is that on the guitar, each fret is 1 note or 1 step on the chromatic scale away from the fret next to it. So that's kind of like the key to understanding how to find any note on the guitar. Because what you can do is you basically start with your open strings that you know. If you want to find out like what's the note on the 4th fret of the 4th string, well, you know the 4th string is a D. Let me point through this, and then you just count up from there along the chromatic scale. So you go D sharp, E, F, F sharp. So F sharp is the answer in that case. Let's look at a blank fretboard. Do that again. So if I want to know, for example, what is this note right here, the 4th fret of the 2nd string? Well, I know because I memorized the open strings that this is a B. So then I just have to count up the chromatic scale. This is going to be C. Remember, there's no B sharp. C sharp, D, D sharp. So that's D sharp right there. If I pick any note, and this is a really good exercise to do, is to pick a random fret on the fretboard. Like let's say, let me turn this up, right here. So I'm on the 4th string, which is the D string, and I'm on the 8th fret. So I'm going to count up to figure out what note this is. So I start with the open string, which is a D, and then I go up the chromatic scale. D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp. That's the note that we're looking for. And remember, A sharp, you can also call it B flat. It's two different names for the same note. All right, that's the process. And there are a couple of things you can do that make it a little quicker so that you don't always have to start with the open string. So I want to talk about that now. First of all, something about the open strings is that the middle of the string, so if this is an open string here, and I want to go to the middle of the string, that's notated by these two dots here. That's the 12th fret. The reason this is two dots here instead of the single dot markers that you have here is that this is the exact middle of the string. And what that means is that this note here is the octave of the open string. So if this is an E on the open string, then the 12th fret is also an E. Or if I pick another string, this is an open G on the 3rd string, the 12th fret is also a G. It's just one octave higher. So that's a really handy fact, because then you can, instead of, let's say you're trying to do that same note or just some other note up high on the neck, like here, instead of having to start with the open string and count all the way up like this, you can just say, well, I know this is an open G, and that means that this 12th fret is a G, so I could just count backwards 2 steps on the chromatic scale. So this would be G, G flat, A. So that makes it a lot faster to get there. Also, that's how you can figure out the notes way up here on the top, above the 12th fret. So if I want to know what this note is right here on the 15th fret, I already know that this is a G because it's the same as the open string. So then I just have to count up. G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat. So that's the first sort of shortcut, I guess, is to understand the 12th fret, that's an octave. Another shortcut is to learn the shape of octaves. And what I mean by that is, if you look at all the notes on the fretboard, if we were to look at that diagram again, you'd see that this right here is a G, and this right here is also a G. So when you start with a note on the low string, there's always going to be a relationship where if you go up 2 frets and then go up 2 strings, that's going to be an octave. So this is a G, that's a G. If I played on this fret, that's an A, that's an A. Let me pick this one. That's C sharp, that's C sharp. So there's this kind of, when I imagine it, it sort of looks like a box to me. It's like up 2 and over 2. This relationship of one octave to the other is a really handy thing that you can use as another kind of guidepost. So for example, you might start learning fairly quickly that this is a G and this is an A. Well, this will allow you to get into the middle strings very quickly too. So now you know that this is an A. So that means that this right here is an A sharp, that's a B, and so on. So you want to learn those patterns of the octaves. And also, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the open strings, since these outer strings are the same, they're both E, that means that any note that you play on the lower string, the low E string, if you play a note on the same fret of the high E string, it's going to be the same note, just 2 octaves higher. So if this is an A, then that means that this is an A, because they're both on the 5th fret. If this is a C, that means that this is a C. So you have like these three notes, they're an octave apart from each other. That's C, and that's C. So that's another thing that you can use combined with the chromatic scale to quickly zero in on the note that you're looking for. So that's all there is to it. Just those 3 steps basically. Learn the open strings, memorize them, memorize the chromatic scale, and play it on the guitar. Practice playing it. Pick random notes to test yourself. Just take a note anywhere on the fretboard, and then count up to find the note. And then you can use some of those shortcuts that I showed you so that you don't always have to count from the open string. Maybe you'll start counting from the 12th fret, or maybe you'll know this note, and so you can quickly go to the octave of that note and then count from there. If you practice that a little bit every day, or maybe not every single day, but whenever you practice, eventually you'll start to get a feel for where all the notes are, and it'll kind of all come together. All right, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.